It obviously seems like there were so many reasons why it was the perfect movie for you, because I know that you have always been interested in boxing. As far back as even like I'm watching your music videos, it was an element of Good Vibrations. A lot of these music videos, and that I've heard that you were at one time or another attached to do a Vinnie Curto thing, and then Black Dahlia's of boxing. So it's obviously something that's of interest to you, and beyond that, an obsession, and then to have a guy in Boston who you obviously admired for a while. Has it always been something you wanted to do, this particular story?
Yeah, I mean, well, you know, the Vinnie Curto story came to me, and, you know, Boogie Nights was just coming out. I put myself on tape as Vinnie Curto at 17 and Vinnie Curto as 40. So I convinced the makeup person I was working with on the particular movie that I was shooting in Toronto to do my nose and the whole thing and prosthetics, and, you know, had the fat suit on, and you know, I sent the tape, and then De Niro calls me, and he's like, "I saw your tape, and I thought you were really good, and I want to do the movie." I'm like, "With me?" Yeah. So I said, "Oh fuck, this is incredible," you know. So immediately I started training, and then that movie fell apart, and it was like I was devastated by that, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna play a fighter one of these days. To me, it's just the ultimate guy's role. You know, I mean, boxing is such an amazing backdrop. I mean, every fighter has such an amazing story. Boxing itself is the sport in which all others aspire to be. It's the most brutal, the most technical, the most dangerous. And so I was obsessed with playing a fighter. And then the Black Dahlia thing happened, and I was probably more intrigued with the fact that there was a boxing element to it. And I had the ring and everything. But for whatever reason, those movies didn't happen, and this was the one I was meant to play. So when the Mickey Ward thing started to come around, I actually, because of my desire to play a boxer, I went to Lowell with another filmmaker, a friend of mine, John Hirschfeld, and we sat down with Mickey and Dickie talking about doing a movie, and then that's when we learned that other people had the rights, and it was a complicated thing. So I just, it's not really meant to happen, so, you know, and I have a lot of other things going on, so it's okay. I'm okay with it. I actually come to terms with it. And then shortly after that, I got the call from Brad Weston of Paramount. He was like, "I got the script for you. It's the Irish Mickey Ward story." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? You have the rights and the script that you want to make?" And he said, "Yeah." And then I was on vacation with my wife. I got home, started training, and that was October 13th was when I first I went to the gym. That's just over 5 years now. And it was, you know, this thing that was fast-tracked, and everybody wanted to play Dickie, and, you know, Alice was such a great part. They were talking about huge names. And for whatever reason, it just didn't happen, and then it just kept falling apart. And it was like, I have to get this done. So,
and you, well, I guess before I even ask sort of what the chief opposition to getting it done was, for just on a personal level, coming from Boston, having initially had a brother that was sort of perhaps at one time you were maybe in a shadow like Mickey in a way.
I'm in jail. He's a huge success. My mother's like, you know, he's the apple of my mother's eye.
And all these other siblings, right?
Oh my God, there's so many. People always say, "What are the similarities between you and Mickey?" And I'm like, I'm just trying to think about what's different between us. Aside from the fact that he's an athlete and I'm in entertainment, I mean, that's it. I mean, we connected like that, you know, and I promised him that we were going to get the movie made. And I don't like to say things that I can't deliver on. And that was another part of it. You know, the struggle to get the movie made was very much mirrors Mickey's struggle to overcome all the challenges he had in his life and to straighten out his issues with his family and Charlene, and ultimately go on to achieve the impossible.
So for the last 5 years, and this is probably an unfairly big question, but you had the 2 tracks, I guess, as the executive producer, kind of moving the thing along, but also on a personal level, trying to have to always, I guess, be ready for whenever it was ready for you. What did each of those things entail, with the one side as the executive producer, and then the other side, what was the training and preparation that you had to do for the part?
Well, in producing the film, I had to convince the other producers that they needed to work with me and trust my instincts, and, you know, how we could get the movie made, and I think the best possible version of the movie, because we were down the road with other filmmakers when, you know, I started having conversations with David, and he convinced me that he was the right guy for the movie, to make the best possible version of the movie, to add an element of humor and heart and emotion that the movie didn't necessarily have on the page. Now, I always felt like it would be there, but not to the extent that David was bringing to the table. And so they were ultimately trusted me that, you know, I knew this world, I knew these guys, and that this would be right. And once they heard David's take, they completely agreed. But the training and the preparation of becoming Mickey Ward, the only good thing about the movie falling apart was that it allowed me to achieve my ultimate goal, and that goal was to look like a boxer who could win the title, not look like an actor who could handle himself in the ring and jump rope and shadow box, and that, you know, you can't do that in 6 months. You know, you can't do that in 8 months. People say they can, but it's just, there is a difference. You know, I know what these guys do and what they have to do, and there's a difference. So, but.
And you had, from what I saw in the 60 Minutes, that you had a gym built.
Yeah.
So I mean, you were all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believed in it, and I didn't care. You know, it cost me a lot more to make than I'll ever make from it, but I didn't care. You know, it's just, you know, sometimes you just gotta go with your gut. And
well, what blows my mind is how you found the time, because you also have a hand in all these great TV programs that, I mean...
And I shot a lot of other movies
in
between. But what I did is I took the trainers with me.
Yeah.
We had portable speed bags and stuff built and put in the hotels or apartments wherever we were. We went to local gyms.
Wow.
You know, we'd go 2-3 hours a day to a gym and then go shoot a 12-hour day. And, you know, they convinced me early on that it's better to stay in shape than to have to get in shape.
Yeah.
So to stop, it's not like riding a bike. You stop, you lose it all. You know, you got to continue to train and get better and better. And they probably wanted to do it as much to get paid as they did to keep me in shape. But I'm just glad I did it.
Yeah.
You know.
And the night that the movie first screened in New York, when, I don't expect you to remember this, but they introduced me to you, and I was sitting at a table that night with a bunch of ESPN boxing guys who had been invited, and they were saying they knew Mickey and Dickie from watching them, and also personally. They say you guys really nailed it. So I mean, is that the kind of thing that you can pick up from verbally listening to Mickey and Dickie talk about how they fight, or you had to study video, or, you know?
All of it. Study video, talk to them, get in the ring with Mickey. But you know what? Those were all things that I knew would make it better. You know, and I wanted Mickey to feel good about the fact that I was playing the part and to see my level of commitment. Now, I remember that, and I completely at Porterhouse. And, you know, with Bert Sugar, who's a boxing historian, says to me, "You did a great job. You looked really good." Lou DiBella, you know, just gives me a hug and says, "You were Mickey. Mickey loves you."
Can't be better.
And Mickey doesn't say that to anybody. You know, that means the world to me. And then the fact that I made them proud, I made Mickey proud, the boxing is what we wanted it to be, and then other people are loving the movie, like women's reaction to the movie, because of the relationships and the love story and the struggles and the things that they have to overcome.
And everybody has a mother.
It's crazy.
Right.
It's crazy.